We are about to resume our interviews of candidates. We have a full quorum, and the next candidate for interviewing is Katerina Kаплюк. Hi. Good afternoon. So we have a full quorum of the commission here. And we're going to have one person lead the interview of you. And this person is going to be online. So this will be kind of the first time we've done this. Hopefully it will work fine technically, but if it doesn't, we'll adapt. Okay? So, Alla, are you ready to start the interview? Very good.
Yes, I'm ready. Good evening, dear colleagues. Good evening, Katerina. I would like to start our interview with the following question. According to the information you indicated in your bio to the Commission, starting from October 2022, you have been working as a sole proprietor in the journalistic sphere. You have indicated that you are providing services to Ukrainska Pravda Media Plus LLC and the NGO Ukrainska Pravda. At the same time, the Detector Media Publishing House on October 22, 2022, published the news on your hiring as an editor of the Ukrainska Pravda Investigations Department. This is confirmed by a post by Mikhailo Tkach, investigator, on Facebook. We all understand that the work of a freelancer as a private entrepreneur on a temporary basis and long-term full-time employment in a specifically defined position with a list of obligations differ from each other, including in terms of the tax liability. In view of the above, we would like to listen to your explanations why, in your opinion, such work relations with Ukrainska Pravda do not fall under the definition of labor relations. Thank you very much for your question. At that period of time, I have been providing services to several companies. Ukrainska Pravda employs most of the people as not on employment contracts, but as expert contracts. Every month, I provided my service provided acts, and my work has been assessed for the services that I provided. That is why I provided my services as a sole interpreter. So the type of employment did not depend on me. So are you the editor of Ukrainska Pravda? I'm not working. I have stopped my cooperation with Ukrainska Pravda in October 2022. I have provided the information on my employment starting from 2022 until now. I'm not cooperating with Ukrainska Pravda anymore. If you look through the materials of Ukrainska Pravda, you will not see me in the list of people publicizing their articles and videos there. So now you are a private interpreter. Yes, that's right. Thank you. The next question. In 2016, you, as a journalist of the SCHEMES program, you conducted an investigation into Alexander Ampliev, whom you called grandmother's prosecutor for driving his 19-year-old grandmother from Zhashkiv in a Toyota Camry. Since 2020, you have worked at the NACP under the leadership of Alexander Ampliev, who headed the NACP structural unit for special inspections and lifestyle monitoring. In an interview, Mr. Novikov stated that if asked, you would confirm that Mr. Ampliev was an honest and professional person. In connection with this, I would like to ask you, is Mr. Novikov's statement true, and can you confirm that Mr. Ampliev is an honest and professional person? Thank you very much for this question. First of all, I was under the management of Ampliev starting from 2021. In 2020, I wasn't his subordinate. I wasn't Ampleyev's subordinate at the time. I didn't choose who would be my superior. As for Mr. Novikov's quote, we have discussed this issue with him after this interview. So these are the words of Mr. Novikov, but not mine. As for me, I have read this report on the results of the first 2 years of NACP's work. There were certain concerns and doubts in regard to separate people of NACP. At my position at the lifestyle monitoring, I didn't have enough, I couldn't check the work of Ampleyev. If I become the head of NACP, I would have some duties and I would be able to do the checkups. At that time, working at the NACP, I couldn't do that, and I could not. I do not know the full information on the property rights of Ampleyev and his relatives. Mr. Novikov's words were just Mr. Novikov's words, but not mine. At the same time, I would like to indicate that over those 2 years of work with Ampleyev, it was a comical situation because our relationships started with a scandal. We can call it like that. Apart from that, we managed to maintain proper relationships, working relationships. And when he was my supervisor, I didn't have any doubts in his integrity. And there were no, he didn't give any unlawful orders to me. So during my period of work with him, I would say that he was a good leader, but I did not have, I could not check his property rights when I was working at the NACP. Thank you. So it wasn't uncomfortable for you to work with Ampleyev, to work under the supervision of Ampleyev after your investigation. As you may understand, it was a bit uncomfortable for me because all NACP employees watched that story and there were jokes from every second person of NACP. At the same time, we maintained working relationships. We didn't have any personal relationships, but I didn't have any unlawful violations of my work at the monitoring department. Our working relationships were even and quite remote. What about your relationships nowadays? Do you maintain connections with him? Do you still communicate with your former supervisor? And if so, what is the character of your communication? Now, I work as an independent expert with USAID. I had to communicate with him in terms of my work and in terms of communication with an ACP. So I provided him with some, our organization provided him with some requests. Thank you. In general, do you support such practice when people who participated in journalistic investigations keep on cooperating with the investigators later on? My position is as follows. You may be surprised, I don't know. Of course, I know that the preferred response from me would be once I become the head of an ACP, I would fire all of them. But I should say that over my work at the NACP, over 3 works, you have noticed that a number of investigative journalists are my friends. After their materials, we received requests from journalistic organizations to start the monitoring of the lifestyle of certain officials. When you prepare journalistic material, you do not have the full scope of data. You can operate only with a part of data. For example, there is an official, he has a car, etc. But there were a number of cases when a mother of certain official acquired some assets. Journalists started saying that the origin of those sources is unclear, but if to dig in deeper, it turned out that that mother acquired some property, then she sold it and bought something else. So it's not always that those data that arise in journalistic investigations actually shows that the person was involved with the corruption. As for Amplaev, we never raised this issue of his property. I don't clearly know the conditions there. If a detailed checkup took place, we would understand that. But I hope this answers your question. Journalistic investigations, as you understand, I've been involved with journalistic investigations for over 10 years. This is one of the most important components of democracy and civil society development. But unfortunately, journalists do not always possess all the data. That is why there are administrative bodies that would need to understand whether there are grounds and whether the assets have certain grounds. That is why in this case and in a number of other cases, a specific checkup should take place. As for my article, as for my video, we filmed that car, we filmed Amplaev, but I don't possess any information on his other property. That is why it was hard for me to speak in detail. We showed this situation and showed his reaction on that. In that video, we showed the reaction of the prosecutor general. There was a certain checkup at that point, but I cannot speak in detail about that. I don't know the background of the situation. Thank you. Another question. You worked at the NACP starting from 2020 till October 2022. You were an expert in the lifestyle monitoring department on special checkup and lifestyle monitoring. Taking this into account, let me ask you to explain why you decided to quit NACP in 2022. What was the grounds for your resignation? Thank you. At the beginning of 2022, the full-scale invasion started, and starting with that, I received a number of new functions apart from those that I had, apart from the duties of the head of the lifestyle monitoring department had. I was one of the co-authors of a number of ideas for the sanctions registry and search for assets of sanctioned persons. We had to communicate with other bodies as well. At the beginning of 2022, Irina Venediktova, prosecutor general at the time, invited me to the position of the head of the task force at the prosecutor general's office to search for the assets of the sanctioned people from Russia. I had my NACP projects, lifestyle monitoring department, and this task force demanded additional work and coordination of different bodies like law enforcement agencies, public bodies, in terms of search of the assets in the project coordinated by the Prosecutor General's office. I had to coordinate my work with foreign task forces, present Ukraine abroad, so the scope of my duties broadened significantly. Having worked like that until autumn 2022, I thought that I need to get back to the profile functions of an ACP, because in spring of 2022, it was unclear whether an ACP will receive their duties to conduct the sanctions register. In autumn 2022, I realized that there will be no duties like that. As you see, according to the legislation, no changes like that were introduced. So I thought that we need to get back to the NACP duties. At that time, full checkups were not conducted and only monitoring took place. I wanted to broaden the monitoring to a bigger scope of NACP employers. I wanted to engage with more NACP employers to work on finding the unexplained wealth. I believe that we should not look into small money, but and collect some minor violations. But I believe that we needed to search into a bigger fish. That is why I believe that monitoring should mostly cover unexplained wealth. I discussed this with Novikov, and while I was leading a number of projects at NACP and I was leading the task force, I wanted to broaden my scope of responsibilities in terms of the monitoring. Novikov said that he wasn't ready to that, and I felt that I grew this over already. And while two additional departments started monitoring independently from us, there was a lack of coordination in this regard, because 3 different departments were doing the same, and the general coordination was poor. I indicated a number of problems to Novikov, that there is a lack of coordination, that we needed to create a profile department. And at that time, he wasn't ready for that. I needed some growth. I needed to see the results of my work and my personal growth. At that time, my position didn't provide me with any growth. That is why I decided to change my position and become the editor of the investigative department of Ukrainska Pravda. Before I quit, I have developed a number of rules to search for unexplained wealth, and those rules are used now. So the work you see from NACP in terms of the unexplained wealth, they are doing it according to the rules that I have developed. Within 9 months after I had this conversation with Novikov, he already started this department. So this means that my ideas were true, were right. Thank you very much for this clarification. That's all on my side. Maybe my colleagues have some questions. Andrei? Good evening once again. I'd like to ask you the following. How would you characterize your relationship with Ukrainska Pravda in the legal sense? Were those equal partnership relationships, or were you a subordinate, and were you implementing someone else's orders? This was quite a specific format of work, because the Department of Journalistic Investigations does not belong to anybody. It is a standalone department. We participated in the planning, weekly planning, but it's an independent department. There were 2 people, me and Mikhailo Tkach. You have seen his investigations, I believe. So our relationships were a partnership. What were your duties? At that time, Ukrainska Pravda received a grant. I don't remember who was the donor, but this grant was devoted to the search of Russian assets abroad, search of Russian officials' assets, their relatives, etc. So my biggest part of work was devoted to identifying those assets. It was connected with what I've been doing at the NACP. It was also connected with the search of the assets abroad. That is why I covered a number of countries, the biggest countries of the EU and the UK. I had to identify assets there, Russian assets there. I had to look into open data, Instagram and other social media to indicate the lifestyles of those people and to find out where they lived. So this was the work directed to this area of scope of work. There were also articles on tenders and procurement in Ukraine. I was also doing a part of work there. That was some kind of research work. I was searching for some information, financial information, processing information, and search for information in open sources.
Because to me this looks like normal activities. Why why it was called editor's job? Is it a mistake, or this is some kind of a position, or yeah? Because according to my agreement, there was a list of tasks. When the text of the document was ready, I was fact-checking because I have gone through training of fact-checking, including in the Spiegel publication. So it is not editing as just all people see. This is mostly about fact-checking, right? So do I get you right? I don't know how just the general public views it. You can tell me. It seems to me that people say that editors just correct the text to make it better, to make it sound better. No, it's a little bit different. Thank you so much. No questions?
We're all good here? Okay. Your interview is officially over and concluded. Very well done.
Well, thank you. Actually, I was expected for some question about my cryptocurrencies, for example, and so on about, but I do not have any.
Okay.
I know that one of the members of one of the commissioners also has some cryptocurrency. So I was expected some questions about that. And when I came here, so some of my colleagues from USAID also told me that you should be asked about cryptocurrency.
Oh,
so,
well.
But I don't have any.
Tell us. Tell us indeed. Because when you want to tell us.
Тому що те, що я побачив,
You can ask your... Go ahead.
Те, що я побачив, не викликало в мене особливо.
So what I saw didn't let me have any questions. So it's not something strange, but you can tell us if you want. Probably we'll hear something wrong. Tell us.
No, it's nothing special, but actually it was really funny that after I read a number of different news pieces all over the internet about my crypto assets. And it was really funny because really a lot of different media wrote about it, also some popular ones like I was Revital and so on. So actually it became viral. And some people started, they tried to follow me on Facebook. Some people started to ask me about what do you want, what do you recommend me to invest in, and so on. So, but actually it's nothing special. I mean, the only thing I just want to say is that I didn't invest so much money that is stated in the declaration, because according to the rules of the declaration, you should declare the amount of money, the number of or amount of currencies you have at the end of the year, so on the 31st of December. But at the same time, you should declare the price at the time of the purchase. And at the very beginning, I invested in some other cryptocurrencies and some other crypto assets, and then transferred from one crypto asset to another. So I didn't invest so much money in hryvnia. So I also have I checked in my private bank in banking account. So I transferred all the money from my own account. So if it is needed, I can also send it to the commission. That it wasn't like some shady assets, not some bribes or something. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Katerina, thank you.
Що заставило вас повірити в Шиба Іну?
What made you believe in Shiba? What made you believe in Shiba Inu currency?
Насправді так. І ви бачите, що там воно на хаях було.
So you can see that it was bought for not very good price, but we will see what will happen. I still have these assets in this cryptocurrency. I still have it, so we will see how the situation will evolve in a couple of years. So I see that you didn't carry out recommendation, which sounds like sell in May and go away. In May, you bought it. So just interesting. I saw more of an interest of a person who studies this system, the same as it was in my situation, because the market was on the growth. It didn't, so the market was growing. Yes, it is true. In 2021, the NACP took part in a series of trainings from the UN on cryptocurrencies. Nabu and us, we went through those trainings, and now we better understand how it works. But of course, it was interesting to try everything in practice, how this process looks like, how new clients are added, how identification goes on, because we need to understand, for example, how it works like. So, yes, you got through the process of full authentication on the cryptocurrency exchange, and you can provide us with a certificate of your account. Yes, it is in Excel format. There is no stamp with mention of the cryptocurrency. Yes, exactly. That's how they provide the certificate. And last question from this series is the following. Was it your own idea to invest in the cryptocurrency in blockchain of the first level, or was it a recommendation from anyone else of popular publications? Back then, I was watching YouTube channel, one blogger, I wouldn't advertise it. He's from Kharkiv. Back then, that growth of assets that I had, I also invested into another currency, and this is exactly why it happened. So I didn't know much about it. So partly, I didn't extract this money. So right now I don't have it as a profit, but some assets increased. Later it decreased, but really these were recommendations that I watched on YouTube or online, looked online. Thank you so much. If we get to the second tour of this series of interviews, we will think about what NACP has to do about this, about cryptocurrency, declaration, declaring this money, and so on and so forth. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for volunteering that information at the end. Full disclosure is the rule, right? And so thank you so much for doing that. I think we're now officially concluded with your interview.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.